Today we're going to have a look at the subject of science and creation and the debate that it has generated. Below is a website you can look up that has an extended essay that looks into this issue in far more detail. Now, there are many well-known scientists who have had public debates with Christians, and they've debated about creation science, and basically scientists reject Christian Science and all its hybrids, and on close examination it doesn't really offer us a viable alternative to mainstream science. Some famous scientists have gone further and they reject religion and the Bible just because it's not scientific. Both positions are incorrect because the Bible is not a scientific book. It focuses on the supernatural, on divine activity. All the creation texts mainly focus on what God does. The Bible does not record any scientific laws or any formulas or information or terminology, and therefore it's not a legitimate way to judge the integrity of the Bible. When the Bible does describe nature, it does so consistent with truth and reality, so it is inerrant. It's just not in scientific terms. Is the Bible reliable? Well, when we look at the history of the Bible, historians tend to think that the Bible is accurate. Whether they're religious or not religious to varying degrees, they agree that the Bible records history in an accurate manner. From the time of Abraham. Another indicator of truth is the Bible is consistent with the creation story. Over 1500 years the story stays the same, it just doesn't change. That's a good indication of truth. There is a divine footprint in the Bible as well. It makes very precise predictions, and when they happen exactly as the Bible states it. They talk about future kings and their names, nationality, their battle strategies, the decrees they make, and when these events occur, it's exactly as was predicted. This degree or precision in accurately predicting future events is not matched by any other body of knowledge or body of discipline. So we can see that the Bible has integrity. If it can predict the future, we can also have confidence in the way the Bible recalls or records history. In addition, when the Bible does describe natural elements, animals and plants, the weather, it does so accurately. Now, the Bible has recorded the first 11 chapters of Genesis, which is the main area of debate, with integrity. The rest of the Bible has integrity, so has the beginning of the Bible. A lot of people try and avoid interpreting the early chapters of Genesis literally. They say it's poetry, so we're fairly flexible in the way we interpret it. They talk about that Moses borrowed stories from surrounding cultures, and therefore we don't have to interpret it exactly word for word. Well, in fact, the best method to interpret the Bible is a literal interpretation. It creates the least difficulties. Otherwise, why would Moses have written it, or the author of Genesis, in that way? The Old Testament does use poetry. It's quite a significant feature of Old Testament writing. For example, the first two words of chapter 1 in Genesis is alliterative. Bereshit, bara, you can hear that alliteration, the two words starting with B and an R sound in there as well. And there are many other examples of literary devices, poetical devices used in Genesis. How do we resolve this issue? Well, we can turn to a place or a subject where science and the Bible intersect, and that's biblical astronomy. When we look at biblical astronomy, it's very literalistic. It records things exactly as they are, how we see and feel them. The sun rises, the sun sets. The earth does not move. Now, those descriptions aren't scientific, but that doesn't mean that they're not true or correct. And they are consistent with our reality. They're just not expressed in scientific ways. The second point we can make is that Christians are quite happy to embrace the laws of astronomy from science, and they're able with confidence to accept those laws. And the third point, we can't really derive laws of astronomy from Scripture. The Church tried and it was a disaster. Now, how do we resolve these main issues? The 7-day creation cycle, Adam and Eve as the first couple, and a perfect world in the beginning. So we apply the analogy of biblical astronomy to biblical creation. We can't go back in the past, but with biblical astronomy we have it in the here and now. And we can be confident in biblical astronomy that it is consistent with reality, doesn't say anything that's not true. Just doesn't say it in a scientific way. And it's the same with biblical creation. It's not scientific, but it's literal and it's literalistic, but what it does say is consistent with reality. Those events and the way the Bible describes it are true and correct. We can have confidence in it. The other point is, though, that we cannot produce scientific laws or narratives from Scripture about the origin of our universe and human development. Like biblical astronomy, it just will not work. The Bible was never intended for that purpose. And the third point we can make is that just as Christians embrace the laws of astronomy from science, so we can embrace the mainstream science picture of the development of our universe and human beings. We need to be consistent in our approach to science, and I think that is a consistent approach. We need to be consistent in our approach with the Bible. We understand that biblical astronomy is literal and is literalistic, and it is true and consistent with reality. The same applies to biblical creation. There is no need for us to have debate. There is no grounds for the debate, and we can have confidence in mainstream science, and we can embrace it, and we can have confidence in Scripture because it is clearly demonstrated to be a book of integrity. Further presentations will examine these 3 points and come to some further resolution in detail.